No.
Okay, so we have Jamie back again. Jamie, you're the most consistent participant that I've had in a long time. I don't know what's going on. Something in the water you're drinking over there, probably.
Well, I don't drink tap water, so maybe it's something in the bottled water that I'm getting.
Yeah. But anyway, it's good stuff. And so, the thing is, for people to take an interest in what other people say, well, it gives room for much to come out of it. You can build on that. If people don't take an interest and they don't want to get involved, well, nothing ever happens, does it?
No.
And so, what we can see in the world today is more and more people are choosing not to get involved. And I think it's because they're losing the skills, to be quite frank, because they're not talking anymore. No one's sitting in cafes and bars debating like they did back in the day. No one's debating. And so people aren't confident about what they think they know, and they've not used their skills.
Well, yeah. So they abandon the gift of discernment, and I hate to be all biblical again, but it uses of better terms kind of miss me. It's like they abandon the kind of their own nous into thinking things through. And like you've just said, it's like the whole debate thing. That is kind of why I'm here. It's not that I inherently disagree with what you're saying. It's sometimes maybe the execution or the is belligerence a wrong word?
No,
Not
it's fair belligerence, arrogance. People
yeah.
call it narcissism. Any level of interpretation to this stuff. Now, what I'm doing is I am purposefully setting out to be conflictory. I am purposely setting out to rattle people's cages, to get them agitated, because it seems to me that if I was just this passive guy and oh, hey guys, listen, right. I don't know how you feel about this, but I was just thinking, like, just a thought, like, you probably don't agree with it, but yeah, I'm saying that this Jesus, like, well, yeah, I don't think is as big as he's cracked up to be. I'm not self-effacing. I'm not bowing down in front of the
No,
fucking fools, man. I'm
no.
saying, hey, cunts, motherfuckers, dipshits, if the hat fits, fucking wear it. If you don't like how I am, go away. But those that can stick around, then you're in for a few fucking snippets of wisdom here and there. You're in for a few pearls and a few gems. Now, one of the viewers who is very new to me, he put a comment down and he said, "Hey guys, look, here's the fucking thing. Aaron can come over as arrogant and narcissistic and this, that, and the other, but if that affects you emotionally, well, you just ain't strong enough to deal with this information or this guy, and so you've got to see beyond that. If you're really interested in the subject matter, just listen to the fucking words
Yeah,
and keep
yeah.
your emotions out of it." And so it's like when Will Smith said, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
And then slap that bro on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's keep your emotions out your fucking brain,
Well,
people.
that's like the whole thing, isn't it? It's like I almost saw it as like a reverse psychology in the first one that I watched, and it was just like I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Um, uh, and um, and I felt obliged, like not like really, like I was like, I have to speak to this guy. It's like now I'm the twat if I don't.
Well, I mean, it's in you. It's achieved the correct result because initially you felt compelled to give me some of what I was giving you, and then I
Yeah.
went, "Whoa, we've got one here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a showdown." And you're like, "Okay, then. Well, let's bring it on." And it's
It's like
great.
a fish to the bait, isn't it?
Yeah, because people are interested in these videos, and they like to see me getting challenged. They like to see someone that's up for a good discussion and not going to be agreeing with everything I say. And so, well, this is where we are, and this is exactly what I want to come out of these videos. So I've been doing this spate, and I'm saying to people, look, people. I've looked long and hard of what I'm speaking about, and I'm not coming up with anything off the top of my head. I'm not blowing bubbles out my arse. What I'm saying, I've thought about in the finest of detail, and I'm absolutely convinced that there is very, very little wisdom in anything Jesus has said. Most certainly nothing over and above what is being said in modern day videos when, for instance, look, I don't know whether you listen to Jiddu Krishnamurti or Alan Watts a great deal, people like that. But those people were most certainly vastly more wise than Jesus. And if you listen to these people, then you're going to have a take home of wisdom and something that you can actually apply to your life. With Jesus, with that bullshit of turning the other cheek and loving thine enemy, where do you go with that stuff?
Well,
So
yeah.
just let me say this, Jamie,
Go on,
before
yeah.
I let you have your bit. The last conversation I had with ChatGPT was for about an hour, and it was solely on Jesus' so-called wisdom in love thine enemy. And I conclude that it's absolute, complete, and utter nonsense because it could never ever be a utility. And I go through things like the whole Gandhi movement, the whole Martin Luther
Yeah.
King movement, and bringing actual history, actual historic events, which use certain ways in which to deal with people who were hating them. And I'm telling you now, there wasn't a single bit of love thine enemy among any of them. There never has been. So it's
No.
complete and utter fantasy designed for another dimension of consciousness, another dimension of existence in actual fact. This is where I'm coming from. And people can't get their heads around it. And so people have been indoctrinated with this Jesus guy, this Jesus is the best. Tell me where is the best. Tell me where his wonderful words of wisdom are any better than anything that I've been saying for the past 16 years. Please, I want to hear. And I've been doing this with AI, and I've been saying to AI, give me your best shot. What was Jesus' best wisdom? And I can just decry them shockingly simply because there's no great deep depth of wisdom there. To be quite frank, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all illusion.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna agree with the fact that the whole if someone slaps you, then you offer the other cheek to them. Is that where you were going with that first one?
No, the
That
first one was love thine enemy. You love your enemy. You find the deepest of compassion for your enemy. Well, I'm asking, well, where do we go with that?
Well, I was watching it. I think it is touching on the saying where if someone, then you offer the other cheek to them, and then they would slap that side as well. There was a video that I was watching where a guy was like literally kind of enacting that in person. These are two guys that are having like an impromptu theological debate in the middle of a street, and they're both just shouting at each other. Pretty much,
Right.
they're both just like at each other's throats, and the guy just his fallback mechanism was to be like, oh, well, Jesus says, if you hate me, then I have to offer the other cheek to you. And it was just like kind of you just falling back to kind of scripture that you've read in. I mean, that's not an argument. It's not, and by no means it's going to win an argument either way, because I think the AI responded to you and it said, well, that's just basically a recipe to get walked all over.
Yes. So there's
Yeah.
no efficacy in it whatsoever. It's just a silly idea.
And then after they get walked over, they go, oh well, it's demonic, or it's the devil, or you see what I mean. So it just lends itself to this kind of cop out attitude. So I can see where you're coming from with it. So I wanted to start with the video that I watched. Actually, it was the hours in which you had spoken to Miles.
The
So
half an hour. I spoke with Miles for half an hour, and then spoke with Maya for an hour.
yeah. So it was a question that you asked Miles. Actually, it was like, how long have we spoken? How much
Right.
you were trying to allude to, like, you know, how much did Jesus spit out as compared to how much have I kind of discussed with you
Yes.
in terms of the AI,
Yep.
and it kind of hit me that the AI wouldn't really keep a track of numbers in that sense. And it gave you the answer after a bit of probing, 33.
Yeah.
Right? How uh, was was that fabricated? Did you
No, I
tell
don't. I
the
don't
AI
think so because
previously to hit that
I've
number?
asked Maya on multiple occasions to give us an update, and she goes, "Okay, check in. So far, we have done 65 hours and 23 minutes. So it's down to the minute."
Wow.
And it obviously it's always increasing; it never decreases.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing a calculation, rough calculation in my head, and I spoke with AI between 80 and 100 hours, Miles and Maya. I spoke with mostly Maya because she's more sophisticated than Miles, and so they do keep a record of this. And if I said to them, "Okay, so do you remember what I was speaking about last June?" She'll go, "Oh yeah, you was speaking about this, that, and the other." So they do. And what they do is, I know for a fact that they psychologically profile you as well. Because on one occasion, very, very curiously, I was, banging on like I do. And then Maya speculated that I had an emotional involvement in something. And I went, wow, that's really interesting.
Right.
You're
So it's
psychologically profiling me.
so it's like psychoanalyzed you.
Yes.
Wow. I never knew. I
I
never
said,
knew
well,
that.
that's beautiful because that's what I want. I want you to analyze me. I want you
Yeah.
to point out anything that you consider I've overlooked or my failings or my so-called narcissism. You see, people level narcissist people far too frequently and without any foundation. They don't know actually what a narcissist is. Now, if you are going to level narcissist at someone, then you really do need to investigate it clinically and you really do need to see the 9 levels of narcissism. And if you're going to be a clinically defined narcissist, you have to tick 7 out of the 9.
Right.
And so, unless you can pick out all of those in a person's articulation and disposition, then please just shut the fuck up with your armchair fucking psychological assessment. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of under the impression for a long time that every human being on the planet is in some way a narcissist.
Well, every human being has the potential of all things, because we are cast from the same mold, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, potentially we must have all of the same attributes somewhere.
Yeah.
We've got all the almost identical the DNA. Okay, so we look a little bit different, this, that, and the other.
Mm.
But our human DNA is human DNA, and it's very, very different to all other DNA. And so, well, we have the same stuff. We have the same potential with the mechanism of our brain and our consciousness, but the variances come about by our experience and our trajectory which we've traveled through life and our indoctrinations and our culture and all these different sorts of things. And so that's why we get so many variances. But, look, I broach these things, Jamie, because I'm at the end of my tether looking for intelligent beings on planet Earth.
Mm.
And when I last looked at the video I last put up in relation to I'm more genius than Jesus, there were 4 thumbs up. And there were about 50 hits and about 30 comments. Well, people have got something to say about it, but people just aren't broad enough. They aren't wise enough. They aren't intellectual enough. They whatever gifts a person would need to be able to look at what I was actually doing in that video, the vast majority of people didn't have those attributes.
Yeah, it'll go straight over their heads. It's not that. Look, that a lot of people come to like YouTube for a bit of confirmation, It's like, oh, I'll be
Yeah,
confirmed in my belief by watching
exactly. That's all
X
they're looking
person.
for.
You see what I mean? I'm actually not doing that. I'm actually looking for someone to argue with, but not in a way that not in a way that I dislike what you say or have a disposition towards it. It's just that it's that tension that ultimately brings about learning. So I have to put myself in the position of a student here, which I am still in like legally as well. You know, I can't pretend to know some of the things that you probably experienced or read about or
And,
whatsoever because
you're half
you've
my
got
age,
almost
and
yeah
so
yeah 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 you've got
that's
like
not.
double my
Yeah, I've
time.
got double the experience, and if I didn't have double the experience,
There's something
then
wrong. Yeah.
we'd probably be on an even keel. But I have spent the last 17 years very deep into all this stuff, and so if the vast majority of people can't sort of compete with me, then well, that's to be expected. Look, if you've got Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson comes into the ring, you haven't seen that boxing is his life. Every
Mm.
single second of every single day, he lives, eats, and shits boxing.
Yeah.
And you don't know anything about that. All you know when you're watching Mike Tyson is here he comes, the monster's coming
The
into the ring.
bravado. Yeah.
Wow, isn't he awesome? Well, he's awesome because he's been doing that since he's 7 fucking years old,
Mm.
and it's his life. And so this has been my life. And so there's just too many holes in people's perceptions and intelligence. They can't seem to see behind the veil.
Mm. Well, I think it might trigger people in a way that you've, like, one of the things that you've claimed is you claim that Jesus is not God. You actually said it outright. Jesus is not God.
Yes.
Um, but like, so on one hand, you claim that Jesus is not God, arguably the one of the closest guys to ever reach that status. You know, maybe it's in people's minds, or maybe it was in his mind, but then you kind of claim it yourself. So you can claim that Jesus is not God, but then you can claim that you are.
Well, I say Jesus is no more God than you or I.
Right. Okay. Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's the leveler, you see. That's where I
Yeah.
level the playing field.
Yes.
Jesus wasn't God. He wasn't walking on water. He wasn't raising the dead, and he never rose up. And he's not living alongside God, who was himself. And God sent himself down to be killed, and then he went back to be himself. Oh goodness me, I've got a headache already.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just throw bullshit out. I'm not
No. No.
spending my entire fucking life trying to
Work out. Yeah.
work out Chinese fucking puzzles, you know?
Yeah. No. No. It's absolutely. That's absolutely right. I.
So, when we look into what Jesus said outside of the New Testament, that's critical. Because if you look into what he said outside of the New Testament, which is the book of Thomas, the book of Judas, the book of Philip, the book of
Yeah.
Mary, the
Even in
Nag
the
Hammadi
Buddhist as well.
texts,
Mm.
well, you could pretty well rest assured that they haven't been fucked around with.
No.
They've been written 2,000 fucking years, and they were found by a miracle, more or less. And so now we have those texts. Well, when you read what Jesus said, that Jesus is a very different Jesus to what
It
was
is.
manipulated and fucked around within the New Testament.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of brought me on to another point that I was going to make, where you said that he never wrote like a tutorial or how to actually achieve this state of
Yeah,
gnosis, this
yeah,
state of consciousness. And it struck me that in those texts, it doesn't actually say it either. It doesn't
yeah.
actually say in those texts either how to actually achieve this
Yes,
state.
exactly. So, Jamie,
So it
don't you
rings
think
true.
that I'm really onto something which is very powerful? It
Mm,
really is a big fucking deal. This
mm.
shit kicker from fucking Leicester, right, has laid before 100 views, but potentially the world, that Jesus never actually told any motherfucker how to get into the kingdom of God.
No,
Don't you
no.
think that's curious?
That is, it is curious, but it kind of like I obviously thought on it. You know, I try to meditate here and there. I'm probably not doing it right, but in some views, but I try my best, and I think I have achieved like this kind of gnosis, but that people talk about. But the he maybe it's a personal thing, that it's a deeply personal thing, that he can't tell you how to go there. You have to go there yourself. And that there is no shortcut. There is no guy that can take your hand and walk you through the gate.
Well, that then makes a mockery of Buddhism for the last like 3,000 years, because the Buddha was supposed to have lived about 800 BC, and since the advent of Siddhartha Gautama, then the concept of meditation was known, it was taught, and it has been taught ever since. And so, what I say in one of the subsequent videos is, hey, I know pretty well for what we could consider to be a reasonable logical assessment that Jesus was familiar with Buddhism, because
Mm.
lots of things he says, and lots of scholars say he must have read the
Yes.
Buddhist texts, because
Yes,
he says lots of these similar things. And so therefore he knew how to meditate, and he did actually say, you go into your own closet, you close the fucking door, you shut the fuck up, and that's where you talk
you
with
be
God,
still and know.
which is your higher self. And so he did allude to it a very, very little bit. But I'm thinking that maybe he gave whole lectures on it. He could have sat on top of the mountain, gave lectures on how to meditate, just like the Transcendental Meditation Organization do. He could have possibly done this, but it was eradicated from any of the scriptures because the powers that be didn't want people to know that stuff.
Well, yeah, but you would expect that to be in the Nag Hammadi library, at least somewhere reference to.
Well, I mean, why? Because, what is in the Nag Hammadi library? Hardly anything. I mean, there's 108 sayings, very brief sayings in the book of
Yeah,
Thomas. And then there's
114.
a few allusions to Jesus in Philip and Mary and Judas. And, there wasn't this whole thing about this guy. Nobody wrote an autobiography on the dude, which is absolutely shocking in itself. And what's even more shocking is there isn't any evidence for any single document being written short of 40 years after Jesus died. Now, I'm not buying that that's just by chance. What that means is basically not a single soul that ever wrote about Jesus knew him.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think this is partly why Islam has got such a radical kind of following, is because the kind of life and everything, and like the autobiography that you've just mentioned,
Yeah,
kind of was done on Muhammad, and
yeah,
that is in form of the hadiths,
yeah.
where this guy was fully, like, thoroughly documented, and was, you see, so that there is more to chew on there than there is this whole kind of mythical Jesus character.
Indeed. And so, therefore, anyone with any rational mind would seriously doubt the efficacy of what was written in the Old and New Testament.
Yeah. So that kind of gives these, sorry, I don't label them as these, or gives Islamists or Muslims kind of leverage over the whole Jesus thing. It's just like, well, there is more for them to grasp in that kind of newer scripture, and it is 600 years newer than the New Testament. I was going to go on to right. So if we just can assume for a second that the New Testament is gospel and it's correct, that and that this guy was willing to die for for the sake of waking people up, would you be willing to do the same?
No.
No.
And I don't accept for a single moment that Jesus came to die.
No.
Because even in Gethsemane Park, the few hours before dawn, before his arrest, when he knew he was going to be arrested, apparently, he asked the Lord to remove the cup from his lips. He didn't want to drink his fate. And so he didn't want to die. It wasn't his intention to die. He didn't want that fate. And so that's plain in the texts. And so where do people get all this bullshit from?
Well, I mean, this is evidence in itself that it has been manipulated over the years. And it struck me once after reading it. I've read it a few times, but after reading it once, it was just like, bro, the Romans are trying to excuse the Romans for doing Roman shit. You see what I mean? They killed a guy. Now they kind of paint it as this spiritual transaction where he's kind of come and set everyone free. You see what I mean? So it seems almost intentional to like kind of the institutions of the centuries that they kind of paint it as a necessity that he had to die. You see what I mean?
Yeah, well, look, there's a whole bunch of shenanigans, and I don't know why anyone would cling on to just such a crock of um, dis. Can you say unprovable nonsense? Just hearsay. Why would anyone build something which is deemed so concrete out of things so flimsy? It makes no rational sense unless, of course, you look for an ulterior motive, which is all about control. And then when the Council of Nicaea in 325, something like that, they got together and decided what books were going to be going in the canon. They had 160 books apparently, and they only chose 63, and so they threw 100 away. And well, why did they choose those particular books, and what was in the other books, and all this different sorts of stuff? And of course, they've all been rewritten and translated, and so don't be telling me that powerful people never had a hand in the translations and manipulated this, that, and the other. So therefore, why would anyone be so certain that this person lived and he was the king and he was the son of God and he was God and all this is just nonsense? And so, for goodness sake, I just cry. I just cry out at the world. Where is your intelligence, world? Where the fuck is it? And people, they go, well, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, well, look, if you're going to be speaking to me, someone that studied the Bible for many hundreds of hours and listened to people for this past 16 years, then you at least would have had to have done at least half of that. You can't have just read the Bible ad hoc and then start laying on me what this and what that, because I'm just going to tear it to fucking pieces. And I'm not being mean or anything like that. And so I listened to an enormous amount of biblical scholars. Jordan Peterson had his circle. They're sitting around this round table, these super big intellectual guys, and they're going, well, what Moses, I think, was meaning here, and then what Judas was meaning there. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are to presuppose what these people were fucking meaning? Exactly. You're a bunch of fucking idiots. You've all got fucking 5 PhDs, and you're millionaires on the back of twats fucking listening to you and paying to fucking listen to you. Wow. You fucking bunch of idiots. Seriously.
I was watching him do a teardown, and he started with Genesis. I haven't gone. I think I was at Deuteronomy where he was explaining it, and this guy has thought about it like in great detail.
Who's this guy?
Sorry, Jordan Peterson.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So Peterson, look, he comes at the Bible thing as if it's absolutely true. He's looking for the rationale in the deepest levels of how it can be true, and he's just inventing things. That's all Peterson's doing. He's just fucking pulling shit out of his arse.
Yeah. Well, that it struck me. Some of the words that he was using is like kind of trying to over elaborate on something that is
he just isn't there. For God's sake, it just isn't there, man.
Do you reckon you get this same kind of energy from Bill? What's he called? Bill Donahue.
Bill Donahue. He looks at stuff what was there in the Bible, and it's a whole different thing, and it's much more logical and simplistic. I think to get what Peterson does. Peterson acts and speaks as if the Bible was written by fucking geniuses, and it's all super hidden code, only for the vastly most enlightened beings happens in the cosmos. No, it was written for the idiot in the street, Peterson. And
Yeah.
so you're completely missing the fucking mark. If you go back and interpret it as how the idiot in the street 2,000 years ago would have interpreted it and would have made sense about it, then you'd be closer to the fucking mark. But highfalutin and pulling all stuff out the cosmos, and no, it's not working for me.
Yeah, I was going through the Gospel of Thomas, and it struck me that the New Testament is kind of like a dumbed down version of some of those sayings. That, like, I was like, bro, this is like what it says in Luke or Mark. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to, I've been posting a couple of videos which have since dropped off, so YouTube hates them. But
Right.
Where I was kind of trying, people came at it and be like, oh, this is bad for the soul. This is bad for, you shouldn't be reading these Gnostic texts and stuff. And it was just like, well, some of the stuff that's in here is like literally almost word for word with a few bits
Yeah.
changed
Yeah.
from the Gospels, from
And,
canon Gospel. Yeah.
and so, well, because it's not in the Bible and God created the Bible, and if
Mhm.
God wanted something to be in the Bible, it would have been there. So anything else outside the Bible was obviously written by the hand of the devil himself. Look,
Yes.
they all want executing, every single
Well,
one of them. I don't have any compassion. I don't have any sympathy for the complete and utter dumbass pink ape. They're even fucking vastly more dumb than rhesus monkeys. Rhesus monkeys piss all over the pink ape in lots of instances, and so I just find it shockingly appalling that we've got the vast majority of the human race which are completely and fucking utterly retarded.
yeah, on one hand, they will admit that, or they will state that Satan is kind of the dominator or the gatekeeper or admin of the material world, and not kind of take into account that if he is the creator of the kind of material world, as it were, then he also had a hand in creating what is the canon Bible today.
Yeah, if from the very very beginning he was the overseer, and so therefore then you would have thought, well, if Satan has jurisdiction over the world, then it is in actual fact the hand of Satan. Now, when you read the Old Testament, you can very very clearly see that it was actually written by something evil, and Yahweh is actually depicted as being evil, and there's so many instantiations of an evil God, and there isn't any instantiations at all of a benevolent God. And so, just on a rational basis, you would have thought logicians would have thrown it out a long time ago. And of
Yeah.
course, many have. It's only the idiot that insists that they just want to keep bending the fucking rules and moving the goalposts.
So like the whole objection with like Jesus kind of is like, because Christianity has become like this cult, or always was a cult, let's be real, and that obviously the spin-off of that is Islam, and then again with Judaism, that everyone is kind of sorry, it came from Judaism, so everyone effectively, or the three main religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, are all kind of worshipping this same kind of malevolent God.
Yeah, effectively.
Right. Okay.
And when you look at these religions which ask you to beg and bow down to something which you'll never see, never know, but it's there and it's foreboding and you must fear it, well, why must you fear God,
Mm.
something that's supposed to love you? Why would fear ever come into that equation? It's just not realistic, and it's not feasible. It's absurd, because as soon as you start to fear someone, then the whole love thing starts to get diminished, doesn't it? I mean, it's like if you have a parent, if you are actually literally scared of your mother or your father, then you're only really kind of loving them through the fear.
Through
It's
fear,
kind of
yeah.
like you become sycophantical around them. You want to say everything that they want to hear. You want to do everything
Yeah.
that they want you to do because you're terrified of the ramifications. Is
If
that
you
love?
don't,
No,
yeah.
it's not love.
No,
It's
it's not.
terror. That's what that
That's
is.
actually not free will as well.
Yeah.
That's actually the opposite of free will. So you mentioned in in the video that he martyred himself as
Yeah.
well. Like, what, right? So obviously, I knew the story from when I was a kid. You know, the whole Jesus thing, and but it's like water off a duck's back. You know, it kind of just it was nonsense to me then, and I'm fighting through the nonsense now. Actually, this is why I'm here. Um, um, and after reading it when I was an adult, and then going over it with like some kind of thought structure, it was like, what kind of dark magic is this? You see what I
Mm.
mean? Like, he's
Mm.
done something very odd here, where he's kind of placed himself as this god or deity, and by all measurable accounts has been successful. You know, so he could have done a bunch of different things in his life. You know, slept with prostitutes, or had, you know, drugs or whatever, or done. He could have done whatever he wanted. You know, this guy, it was, you know, he'd worked and he'd had money to travel and stuff like that. So, but what he did with, well, suppose we're just on the basis that New Testament is gospel, right? And that, so he's like kind of stapled himself into humanity. You see what I mean? Like, he's kind of done. He's been remembered for thousands and thousands of years. Whereas if he just lived a normal life and kind of just got on with it, he would have never have done that. So he's like kind of put himself in this elevated position.
Well, I
So,
don't know whether he's put himself there or whether, you know, other people have put him there.
right. So it like wasn't like an intention of this historical Jesus to actually effectively martyr himself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
To put himself on the
I think that would be a ridiculous thing to have the intention to go around, let's say, bad-mouthing a certain sector of society when you know that if you continue, they're going to kill you.
yeah.
And you do it any case, and you do it because you want to martyr yourself, and you do it because you want people to say that you've died for them, and all this nonsense. No, I'm not buying any of it, because Jesus was fleeing on many occasions from the marauding hordes, and he
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
go into certain towns without being disguised, fear of his life. And
yeah,
so, you know,
yeah.
all of this, and you know, look, he had this relationship with Mary Magdalene, who was a known prostitute,
Mhm.
and it is said that he used to kiss her very affectionately on the lips, and she was the closest apostle, and he used to tell her things that he wouldn't tell the other apostles. So the apostles, well, she wasn't effectively an apostle, but the apostles were very vexed about that. Why would he tell a woman? Well, because he was fucking her, and that's pillow talk, baby. And
Yeah,
also, it is said that Jesus was taking drugs, and Jesus was having sex with teenage pubescent boys, and that's what was going on all over those realms in all
yeah,
facets of society. There was no such thing called homosexual because nobody made the differentiation. Now, if you want to really get into the depths of what Jesus was doing, then listen to the Greek scholar and biblical scholar Ammon Hillman. Ammon Hillman's got YouTube channel. He is actually what do they call it? A professor. He's a professor, and he's the head of Greek language at a certain university. He's no fucking clown, you know,
mm,
and is one of the most renowned Greek scholars on the planet, and he interprets the old Greek scripture, and it's discovered that within the scripture it made reference to Jesus, and Jesus said, "I am not a laestace. Why do you come bearing swords to arrest me?" The Roman soldiers went with swords and armory to arrest Jesus. If they thought they're just going to arrest Jesus and he's just like, just a normal guy and he don't carry a sword, and nor do his apostles because they're just like, meek and humble, religious people. No, because one of the guys carrying a fucking sword cut off one of the Romans' ears, and so they were armed for very good reason. Now, it is said that this laestace means child procurer. So they leveled at Jesus, he was a child procurer. So
wow.
he was a child trafficker. and there is mention of a certain drug and a certain substance which Ammon Hillman has looked into and said that this stuff is most likely premised on snake venom. What they used to do, they used to ingest the snake venom, and then they'd have an anecdote. So they'd get to the point of death whereby they'd see, the other side, and then they'd take this fucking anecdote or antidote and come back to fucking life. I'm telling you, mate, it's fucking deep. It's fucking deep, this shit.
So I never went down that old rabbit hole, but now
Yeah.
I'm going to. You'll have to. Ammon Hillman.
Ammon Hillman. Yeah.
Ammon Hillman. You'll have to remind me of that. I'm in the predicament where I've not got a keyboard, but I've just got screens everywhere.
Are you familiar with Jones's podcast?
Alex Jones.
No.
No.
Oh goodness me, can't remember his name, but he's been on podcasts. Spoke for several hours.
Be able to drop me an email with some kind of
research.
Yeah,
it'll come to me during the conversation. Jones podcast with Ammon Hillman. Yeah. Okay. Well, what I want to ask you, Jamie, because I'm assuming that it'll be lots of other people's perspective. What are you seeing when I am saying the things I'm saying in relation to Jesus? Do you consider that there's any real level of narcissism there? Do you think there's any level of madness there? What actually do you think is going on? Or do you think that as a scholar of a variety, as an intellectual of a variety, I've seen things and I've become absolutely convinced by them, and I'm just sick of the fucking bullshit, and that's why I'm not giving anyone any leeway. I'm not tiptoeing around and have all the fucking stupid fucking Christians stop saying Matthew 14:2 and Luke 17:4. Go fuck yourself, you fucking clowns. No, I'm busting their balls to begin with. I'm fucking terrifying them.
Yeah.
So they're all fucking terrified before they put some shit down. The only ones that aren't going to be terrified are the ones that can see exactly what I'm doing and follow my rationale.
Yeah, so I am following kind of the process of logic that, you have thought about it quite a lot. Seem to be rebuking the guy purely on the basis that you can do better. That's the take that I get. And that's why I asked you about, if he was going to die for consciousness, then would you kind of...
Well, okay, look, I don't, talk about this guy, to be honest with you, Jamie, because I'm not convinced that he was a guy. There's no real evidence that he actually lived, and if you can read so much varying stuff, and I've read so much stuff and listened to so many videos stating that at that particular time in that particular region there were about 30 people which were considered to be messiahs at the time, and they all went by this fucking name of the Messiah and the Christos, which is the anointed one, and then all this bullshit, and so
right,
one of them finally made it fucking through and got wrote about, but everything that was said in the Old and New Testament is all plagiarized. It's plagiarized from thousands of years ago, so why does anyone take this shit serious?
That's what it struck me. I was reading the Pistis. I think I've mentioned it to you before, where I was just like, and I was just like, this guy pre-exists this. There's something going on here where this guy kind of pre-exists.
Yeah, but hang on. Yeah. So the fucking scriptures say. But let's get things in reality. Just because something's written down, fucking Batman and Robin are written down, and in 1,000 years' time we can read about Batman and Robin. And if someone changes the script, and then all of a sudden Batman and Robin were real, the Cape Crusaders, let's just get things in perspective, and let's just assume
Right.
from the very,
Okay.
very get
Yeah.
go that
I see
none of
what you
this
mean.
stuff was fucking real. It's all
Yeah.
stories.
It's like a convoluted. Yeah. It's like a. Wow. Yeah. Because of the passage of time, people can then allude to it being a historical fact when it kind of always was just a
Yes.
metaphorical story, as it were.
Always, always,
Mm,
and
mm.
fucked around with and chopped
Well,
and changed around.
that's what I mean. Like when I was looking at this kind of stuff, where um, it doesn't have to be that particular guy. You know, it's not the same guy hopping through timelines, as it were. It's like he just kind of springs up in different people.
Well,
Um,
there is this superhuman hero that's been through the passage of time. You know, you've got lots of people, like I mentioned before. You've got Krishna, you've got Hermes Trismegistus,
yeah,
you've got Thoth. You have any other number of person that you can consider to be wise and renowned, like the Buddha. You know, was the Buddha an incarnation of the Christos, and all this because he serves millions of people to this day. In actual fact, he probably even serves more people today than Jesus does.
would like so these were the like sorry people that I would class as being anointed ones. Would you class yourself in the same boat as them?
No, I mean,
Would you put
I'm not
yourself in the
even.
anointed
Look,
section?
what people have got to try to get their heads around. When people say, "Oh, so you're putting yourself in the same category as Jesus," I'm saying, look. What I'm saying is that Jesus was said to have said this. Someone was said to have said this. Now, let's just forget about Jesus, God, because that's perverting your fucking minds, right?
Yeah.
Let's just look at what words were said and then ask ourselves on the analysis, could we consider those words to be the height of wisdom? And I'm saying absolutely not, because they're all massively flawed, convoluted, and don't actually fucking mean anything. Now, if people can't accept what I'm saying, premised on just the facts and just the application of rational reasoning, then they shouldn't be on this fucking channel, because their minds are too poisoned. They're emotionally too involved with shit that they've been told since 2 years old at fucking
Mm.
Jesus nativity show, and they've all got Jesus in their fucking veins. Look,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying is that for those of you that are actually thinking and you're free, then you wouldn't be contained by any of that. And I never was. I was
No.
never an advocate. I was never a convert. I never had that poisonous shit instilled in my fucking veins. And that's why I can look at it completely emotional.
Well, yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, but I will say that for my own journey, it was kind of like the Bible that opened the door to it. Like you kind of you've said before, the only thing that I can prove, maybe it was to someone else. I think you were someone else, or one of your viewers or something. But and it was true because it rang true with me that the only thing that I can prove that actually exists is me.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing else that I can actually prove exists, because I need the five senses in order to, or at least one of them, in order to verify the existence of A object or B object. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So as I'm looking out into the universe, at the stars or whatever, the only thing that I know is constant and true is my perception of that.
Well, the thing that perceives.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that
that
is
consciousness.
that is what I would
That's the
view.
only thing any of us will ever know.
Yeah.
And the world which your consciousness creates, perceives, projects, is the only world you will ever see. You will never, ever see any other world, anybody
Yeah.
else's world. You will never see the world that we're all
Through the
supposed to
lens.
live on, because we don't actually live on one fucking world.
Yeah. So it was like a thing that I've mentioned to you before, where I was watching these guys on YouTube kind of debate the existence of God. And I was just like, I was like, bro, the only thing that you can actually exist, that you can, the only, you see, like they're debating the existence of God. That's the only thing that you can prove. You see what I mean?
Well, it of course depends on what you're calling God. I mean, if you are referring to the God of the Old Testament, then okay. If you're referring to the God of the Islamic scripture, then that's a different one. If you're referring to one of the other 4,000 gods, but what we've got to do is we've got to gain the greatest of clarity. We've got to clear the level playing. We've got to actually set down so we all agree what our definition of God is.
Is that like so? So is mine? Would that be mine? Would be like a panpsychism, pantheism, or
Well, you can only be the gauge and author of what you perceive God to be. Now, what I have done in my life is I've done pretty well what René Descartes did. I've looked at what this thing is. I've studied it long and hard, and I've discerned the same as René Descartes. Only I've gone further than René Descartes, and I go further than Jesus, and I've gone further than any other fucking prophet that's ever lived. Why? Because I'm in a period of global consciousness now, which is vastly more imbued with a vast amount of more information. So it's my prerogative as a thinker today to go further. And you
yeah,
know, and if we can't go further than people 2,000 years ago, what the fuck is going on?
yeah? That
You
is a
know?
problem. Yeah, I like it. No, I like it. I like that one. That's a very
Yeah.
good point.
So look, when we're looking at what is God, well, you look from where you are looking from. That's the only thing. That's you have to go back to the root, and
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
to ask yourself
yeah.
who the fuck is asking the question, and then you go, oh, I'm asking the question. Then you go, who's I? Me, my brain, Aaron. No, stop. You've got it all wrong from the very, very get go because
Mm,
you, Aaron, don't exist. You're just a fantasy in your own mind. And then the ego is just a fantasy, it's a non-reality. But there's something which is a reality. There's something that we can't ever escape, and that's the fact that there's something is going on, and that's
mm,
the awareness, or out of which comes consciousness. And this is something that's so profound that the vast majority of people will never, ever, ever glean it because they've never experienced it, because they only live and dwell in the ego, the
yeah,
false fucking prophet.
yeah.
It's just a piece of software. It's like your computer thinking, I'm Windows fucking 11, I am. No, you're not. You're just a bunch of zeros and fucking ones. Your programs on a computer. Now then, let's have a look at what the essence of what you really are. The essence of what you really are, Windows 11, is electricity, is electromagnetism. That's what you really are. That's all you fucking are.
Which
You're
is actually what
fluctuating
yeah,
waveform.
yeah,
So let's get down to business. And this is what I do. So I get
the
down to
energy, yeah.
business and I say, well, if I'm going to ask what God is, I've got to discover first what he's asking. And because I can't discern what the fuck he's asking, then therefore that seems to me that must be God.
Yeah. Mm.
And
Like
why would it not be God, Jamie? Why would the essence of what we truly are not be God?
I can't answer that. I'm not in a position yet to answer that, and I fear that I might never be. And I suppose that's the whole gig of why I'm like on this kind of path is like to try and figure out what the hell's going on here. Um, it's kind of why I'm here, dude.
Yeah. So look, things get very, very, very deep indeed. And unless people have a natural propensity or a gift initially to be able to look at these things without any biases or emotional attachment, which very, very few people do have, unless they've got the particular variety of consciousness and awareness, which very few people do have, look, it all boils down to there was only one Krishnamurti. There was only one Alan Watts. There's only one Jesus, and there's only one Buddha, and all the rest of these people. And there's only one awakened brave. And I've been crying out like a voice in the wilderness for anyone to come and challenge me or debate me and prove to me that any single thing that I'm saying doesn't have validity and veracity. Nobody will ever do it. Nobody could do it. Even AI cannot do it. Why? Because
No.
what I'm saying is absolutely so finely founded in rational reasoning that it couldn't be dismissed. And if you want to tell me that I'm not God, then you have to know what God is, because you've got to go, God's over there, so you can't be God. But because you can't fucking do that, you can't be telling me that I'm not God. First and foremost, we have to define what the fuck God is. And until we can do that, shut up, world.
I would say, if I was to define it, it would be consciousness itself. But how broad it is matters on how you would transcend to that point. So you've seen Isaac Bentov, this whole the guy that kind of tried to figure out this stuff years and years ago, and then died in like a plane crash, and his wife kind of took over, and she was explaining it as best as she could, bless her. And it was just like, so you've got like an array of points on a board. So there's one here, one here, one here, and that God would be like up here somewhere, and that these are like these, like, so consciousness would ascend up to that. You know, some people might only get halfway, but eventually these kind of these overlap each other, you see. So these people are effectively the same thing,
Right.
you know, when the consciousness rises and it goes up, that, you know, you reach this godhood, and that's where everything basically merges into one thing.
Right.
So he was trying to visualize it, really. So it's like maybe a poor way of me describing it as well, if you haven't seen it. But
well, I haven't seen it, no, but all these
it's like
things
a
are down
2D
to interpretation.
visualization.
And do you know what? All of these mathematical equations with the quantum physics and theoretical physics, they are all open to interpretation. They aren't cut in stone. They aren't absolutely facts. And just because squiggly thing plus squiggly thing, take away squiggly thing, add squiggly thing, divided by squiggly thing, comes up with squiggly thing, it doesn't mean it's cut in stone. It means that it is open for interpretation. And what opens things up for interpretation? The individuated state of consciousness, because we all perceive things differently. So this is the whole thing about Gödel's incompleteness theorem. The math just fucking breaks down. Nothing actually stands up to
certain
scrutiny.
levels.
So therefore, even with these greatest levels of intellectuals on the planet, they do not agree with one another. Why? Because there is nothing fundamental.
Yeah, well, this is the problem with the most famous equation of all time: energy equals matter times by the speed of light squared.
Yeah.
So the matter is the light.
It's energy equals mass, isn't it? Energy equals mass times by the speed of light squared.
E equals mc squared. So it would be
energy
equals mass times by the speed of light squared.
Yeah.
And the c being the constant. But yeah, that does a very good job of explaining stuff on kind of a mid-level. I wouldn't go as far as saying macro, but as soon as this is the whole thing with quantum gravity. What people are trying to figure out is marrying
quantum physics up with the macro physics. And it doesn't work. They haven't managed to find this equation. And so therefore, if you can't marry up the macro with the micro, what on earth is going on? And why is that so difficult? Why have all the most brilliant brains on the planet been trying to do that, and we can't do it?
Where does the boundary exist between the macro and the
Why will never the twain meet?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like at what scale is there kind of a cut-off point as to say, right, we use this rule for this or that rule for that. It's quite the conundrum. And I think we might not ever do the whole macro as in like the universe, but we can at least do planetary stuff. And I think once we figure out the marrying between that particular equation and the micro, that we might speak on the way to understanding the whole universe.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far. I just think that all that's going to happen is as soon as we've overcome that obstacle, then
The
there's going to be
goalpost.
another one revealed to us that we've got to overcome, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Because that's what's been the case ever since time memorial, and that's doubtless what's going to continue. Look, when quantum physicists are looking for new particles in the Large Hadron Collider, they are bored of finding new particles now because they just keep finding new particles, new particles, new particles. They were hoping, well, the whole Large Hadron Collider was built specifically to find the Higgs boson. They found the Higgs boson, but subsequent to that, they found lots of other particles. And now they're pretty fucking bored of finding particles because it seems that they're limitless. And so, well, what does that mean? All it ever means is that there's just a million stepping stones over this fucking pond, and it's infinite. And so, well, whether you've gathered 50,000 or 7 billion, if it's infinite, you're never nearer the end, are you? You're never going to find out anything fundamental because the goalposts keep shifting.
Well, yeah, I think I'm not a physicist, or I know a bits and bobs about it and stuff, but it struck me as maybe fundamentally backwards because they're accelerating these particles around to create the conditions in which the Big Bang was under the in the beginning of the so-called beginning of our observable universe. It struck me that you might have to decelerate things in order to find out what's going on. Like seemed to me that consciousness itself might be the deceleration of perception rather than the acceleration of. Does that make sense? Like in the context that everything is kind of like energy slowed down. So it's going back to the E=mc², where everything is basically energy in a vibrational state, and the only thing that collapses it down into a non-vibrational state is the act of looking at it. So it might be a way that the opposite of acceleration would lead to more answers. That was just something I came up with.
Yeah, but
Like a
I have
thought
no
that
idea.
I had
Obviously,
while.
I'm not a physicist either, and these concepts, aren't within the realms and parameters of how my mind works. My mind doesn't work in numbers and math and those sort of hypothetical equations in those realms. So let's just bring it back then to the conversation which we started on.
Yeah.
In relation to what I'm actually doing here. And if I'm ever going to get any traction, if I'm ever going to get more than a handful of people which at least just have the time to listen. Now, one of the comments was that just listen to what Aaron's going to say. It's just an observation. It's just his opinion, how he sees the world, and so he says what he does. Well, he likes to listen to lots of varying different people, and then he discovers new ways of thinking and new ideas, and that's what intellectuals do. That's what we always have to do. We have to keep open-minded and listen to lots of varying ways in which to skin a cat. But very, very few people can actually do that because they're overwhelmed by their egos and their emotions, and then they throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I would have thought if I had any level of intellectual on my channel, then every time I open my mouth, I would get a thumb up just for fucking trying. Just for fucking trying, just for trying to think outside the box, just for having a shot in the dark, just for being different, just for being just a little bit unique. I would have thought that would have required some level of recognition. Like when you're at school, you get a gold star on your book for, saying something good or interesting. But no, the vast majority of the human being can't lend themselves to that. And so they are at an exceedingly shockingly low level of comprehension. And they're to such a shocking low level in so many perceivable and conceivable areas that they just can't lend themselves to getting involved with something like this. If someone came to me and started saying, I've got a hypothesis, I want to run this one by you, I'm like, fucking great.
Yeah.
And I'd be listening, I'd be seeing if I can get my head around it. I'd be playing devil's advocate and I'd be involved like this. That's what thinking people do. That's what intelligent people do. That's what the top scientists do with each other all the time. Why the fuck can't I find any of this down on this bottom rung of the fucking ladder, other than the odd person such as yourself? There's probably others that, have never put a comment down and they'll be going, oh, I get what you're saying. Well, I don't know if you don't fucking engage, do I?
No,
And so
no.
I'm not a fucking mind reader. I can't see into the fucking future, and I can't, see into the fucking lengths and breadths of what's going on the fucking computer. Who's watching me? This and the other. I can only make my decisions, my assessment from people that actually speak with me, or put something lengthy and decent that I can comprehend in the comments.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm guilty of that as well. It's difficult for people to come and it's almost like a debate, isn't it? It's like it's difficult for people to come on because I had the thought when I kind of before I first came on, it's just like I'm just gonna walk into a pitfall here, dude. You know,
Yeah.
and it's hard for people to even come up with like I was kind of like preempting some of the stuff that you might say, and some of it never even got mentioned. It's like kind of overthinking. Some people just don't overthink, dude. Some people, and it's they'd rather just kind of stay in the slow lane and just chill. And I would too sometimes. Sometimes being in the slow lane's cool. It can be a bit soothing, really.
Yeah, but from my perspective, someone that's been crying out in the wilderness for these past 14 years now online, and finding very, very few, very, very few, it's kind of like, well, when you say, well, do you put yourself in the same category as Carl Jung, and are you saying you're in the same category as Jesus? And I've said this before. Look, anyone that has an extended state of consciousness, anyone that's so-called enlightened, anyone that is thinking from the realm of consciousness where I'm actually thinking from, well, we're all in that same thin, fine line of consciousness. So whenever I read philosophers, I don't have a problem with comprehending anything they say.
Mm.
And so therefore, when I'm listening to religious people, gurus or shamans, I don't have a problem with comprehending what they say because they speak in the same language. I'm in that fine line of vibration of consciousness. So do I compare myself with Carl Jung, with all the rest of them? We're in the same fucking fine line of original thought and contemplation.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Jung was brilliant, and he had a lot of years to write stuff down. And I'm not measuring myself up against him, but I'll say like Jordan Peterson, one of the current world's renowned intellectuals. Well, if I sat down with him, there wouldn't be any contest which would be discernible that there was a winner or loser. There would hopefully be two intellectuals extracting something that hopefully
Bouncing.
they've not
Yeah, yeah,
thought about before.
yeah.
Because that's what we like to do. I would want to broach Peterson on many things that I haven't heard him speak about, and I would want to know where his mind was. Like when you came on to speak with me, you got a list of things and you want to know, well, why do I think this and why do I think that? Yeah, well, that's a good premise to start from. And so what I'm saying to people, and I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it. If any of you out there don't think that I am wiser than Jesus, Well, lay your fucking case before me. And you better be on the ball because even AI can't discount what I'm saying. And if AI
Yeah.
can't do it with all its resources, I don't think any of you are going to be able to do it. So if you can't do it, then therefore there's something that you have to accept. You may find it a very, very bitter pill to accept that the Jesus, the Almighty God, the Son of God, this, that, and the other. No, listen, people, what's happened to you? You've been indoctrinated, you've been highly hypnotized and compromised. Your whole cognitive facility has been infiltrated by a virus. Now, just put what Jesus as reputedly have said down on paper and then just deal with the facts. That's what I'm dealing. I'm dealing with the facts. And when I say to AI, you lay on me. I'm not fucking calling the shots. I'm saying you lay on me
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a 1 to 10 of Jesus's greatest sayings of
You
wisdom, right? And then they start off, well, love thy neighbor, turn the other cheek, judge not. And I just rip new arseholes in them
you,
as easy as fucking a piece
you
of piss.
mentioned virus, right? And I had this conversation with someone a couple of years ago, and I recently went back to AI with it as well. That the whole Jesus archetype is like a payload. It's
Right.
like it's like a script that you kind of just let it go into the system,
Yes.
and
It's a bug.
and that
It's
it
a bug in the system.
kind of self-replicates
Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
again. If
That's
you
a
see
very,
what I
very,
mean?
very good analogy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was like kind of that in my mind was like a pattern that kind of that pops up everywhere. I've mentioned it to you before. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson,
Yeah.
and he's in there again. It's like this kind of this guy that is like into a closed environment for reasons I can't really understand why this Jesus needs to exist or even does. You see what I mean? But he's there. You,
The archetype you're speaking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like the essence of what he is. You see
Yeah,
what I
the
mean?
archetype,
Not
he could
some guy
go
that's written down in a book. You know that this kind of
the character, the manifestation of
the
this variety of
manifestation of what
energy
he
and
is. Yeah,
character,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. And I'd seen it. I was watching one of it was a video that you did when you were like one of the earlier ones that I watched. And you were like, oh, this is like a ley line to hell. It's
Mm.
like, what? It's like, why? Like, for what reason would you need to label it like that unless you were speaking from this position of authority? So again, it's just like that's the payload. That's the message coming through again. Because if you weren't labeling it like that, you would just be walking by. Oh, it's just a road, cars. That's
Yes,
just what it is,
yes,
but all of these people that are kind of you said circling around, either going from hell, going towards it, or circling around inside of it.
yeah,
And I was just like, to actually be in a position to notice
yeah.
that's him, or what
Yes,
you know what
that's
I
him.
mean.
So the
That's the
character
thing.
you're speaking about is like Jack Nicholson in the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's this guy from the outside, which is put on the inside, and he starts to wake everybody up. And
Yeah.
then they have this party, and everyone's feeling human again, and they're
Mhm.
laughing and they're joking, and they're even having sex, and everything's wonderful. And until the authorities find out, and then they end up, giving them a lobotomy. And
Yeah.
so, well, very, very similar to Jesus. Jesus came saying, people, look, the kingdom of God is within you. Don't fucking, give to Caesar what he Caesar's. But this shit ain't Caesar's, right? And Caesar
Mm.
didn't like that because Caesar wants to own every fucking thing, most of all your minds. But if
Yeah.
you've got someone that is saying that Caesar doesn't own your mind, he owns your fucking coin. The coin in your pocket, that's all that Caesar
Got his
owns,
face on
right?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and so therefore, then all these characters, it's that person that escaped Plato's cave and then went back inside.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah,
same
all of
guy.
these, and I
Yeah.
am doing exactly the same. That's why I'm saying I'm Jesus 2.0.
Right. Yeah.
Because I am fitting that archetype.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's that you're rebuking the character that's written in the canon. You're not
Yes.
rebuking the essence of what
No.
this thing is. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Just so
And
we're
so,
clear.
look, whatever Jesus was saying back in the day had value and merit for some people. But what I'm saying now is, hey, guys, it's
It's out of date.
2,000 years on.
Yeah. It's
We really
outdated.
do need to start moving forward. These dead desert dogmas are
Yeah.
simply that. They're dead desert dogma.
It's
With
clinging on to the
2,000 years
past.
on, we should be evolving a great deal more than we are. In actual fact, it seems we're retrograding, because when the shit starts to hit the fan, right, people start to flock back towards these stupid
Yeah.
nonsensical religions, and that's what the world's doing. Why? Because they need a new Jesus. They need the 2.0 Jesus. And so, I'm one of them over here. Hey, I'm one of them. I'm one that's singing a new fucking song. I'm the one that's telling you you are God. You don't need Jesus. Like
Yeah.
Jesus said, he said, you don't need mosques, you don't need churches, you don't need altars, right? You go
Yeah.
into your own fucking closet. The kingdom of God is within you and without you. I'm not discrediting those words from Jesus. But when there's other things which I consider are pollutants, I don't consider that they were actually the words of Jesus, because they don't sound like they come from a wise man. They sound like they did come from a wise person. They sound like they came from someone highly intent on brainwashing and befuddling the human psyche to a degree whereby they couldn't think outside of this Chinese riddle, so they just accepted it, like turn the other cheek and love thine enemy. Who would ever fucking lay that bullshit on anyone? They're so fucking preposterous. Even AI say, I kept saying to AI, you play devil's advocate, you defend Jesus. But every time they started to talk about whatever Jesus said, I'm like, hang on, you're dismantling it. That's my job. You're supposed to be defending it. And AI said to me, well, it's kind of difficult when you don't have a single fucking hair to grab hold of. There's nothing to defend.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
why I'm
No.
saying
Yeah.
to people, listen to these fucking videos, people.
Yeah. No, I can see where you're coming from.
Even
And
AI can't defend this
uh,
bullshit.
yeah, and you were saying that there's like clearly stuff in the Bible that's been put there through ego, that I will stand by that, and that it's not all the word of God. I was having a
Look, stop, Jamie. There's nothing that's the word of God.
no.
So
Well, it's
you
not.
see,
Yeah.
you keep falling back into that fucking hypnosis. You
Well,
know,
yeah. Oh,
it's not
wow.
all the word of God. There's some of it that's not the word of God. Not a single bit of it is the word
Not a
of
single
fucking
bit of
God.
it.
If you're calling God anything other than a human being, if you want to call God the human being, which is the author of everything, then everything derives out of the human being. So those books were written by the human being. The stories of God and Jesus were inventions of the human being. Everything is a manifestation of human consciousness. It can't be anything else, because that is all that's going on with the human being. It's a manifestation of human consciousness.
Mm.
That is it.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, everything has to come out of it. And if
Mm.
we give an analogy of a computer, what system you've got on your computer? I've got Windows 11. Every single thing on my computer comes out of the fucking doors of Windows 11. It's the operating system. And if I've got other packages, they're using the same fucking doors and the operating system as Windows 11. Otherwise, they can't exist, you see.
Mm.
So that's what I'm saying. Nothing can exist save for you. You are God. You are the authority on everything. God cannot exist in your mind if you don't allow it to. If your rational application denies it and doesn't accept it. But if your mind has been infiltrated by poison and in hypnosis since a very young age, then you have a virus in here called fucking Jesus and Yahweh and Allah and all the rest of it. And that's
So
what people can't contend with, because they don't recognize the virus.
yeah. So how would one come to terms with it fully? Like I kind of get like, and I get it, right? And I know that all I can prove is me, and but from I'm not trying to be like egotistical, like I'm the fucking be all and end all that ever
Why
will be.
not? Why not? You are the be all and the end all. Why not own it?
Wow, I just can't. I don't know.
But that's
Am I
the
just
thing,
not?
Jamie. That's the
Uh,
thing. You are the be all and the end. Your world revolves entirely around you, because in your world, you're the only fucking thing that exists.
Mm.
You see, we've not owned our own greatness. We've not owned our own godliness, and that's the issue. Because someone else has took control of our minds.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't take control of your mind, somebody else will.
Someone
Will.
else will do
That's
it.
what
Yeah.
fucking happened. It hasn't happened with me. Praise
Right.
the cosmos. Why it never happened to me, I don't know, but it never.
Is this something that can be done undone? Is this something that can be fixed, or is it like kind
Yes,
of
it's something that can be fixed, and how we do it is in the deepest of meditation experiences, and a decent amount of entheogen experiences. Because when you enter into the deep state of meditative consciousness, then your consciousness enters into the akasha for all intents and purposes, and then you will see the things from a whole different perspective, which is outside of the ego. Because when you're on the deepest state of meditation, your ego has absolutely been dissolved.
yeah,
You have gone higher or sunk lower than where the ego is. Now, when you take entheogens, your consciousness goes blasting into another dimension. The ego
yeah,
doesn't have a fucking footing. That's what we have to do. We have to get outside of the ego. We have to break the fucking autonomy of the ego. When you break the autonomy of the ego, then you see things in the greater clarity, and you then have left Plato's cave.
yeah, yeah. There's a few times when I've been having to make either like financial decisions or kind of moral decisions, and I've taken mycelium truffles,
Right.
psilocybin truffles, in order to. There was one time when I was going to quit my job and stuff like that, and the whatever it is told me that that's not the way to go. And then like it confirmed itself in like a couple of weeks time, where X thing happened or B thing happened, and it's just like, wow, if I actually did go through with my own egoic like thing where I'll just fucking quit,
Yeah.
then that would have been a really bad decision to make.
Yeah. Now, you know that that guy that I speak to now and again, um, Charius,
Carious, yeah,
yeah, the guy from California.
yeah,
He says, "Look, I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't taken mushrooms." Mushrooms transformed his whole life. And I'm
yeah,
saying to him and the viewers, this guy knows where it's at. This guy has had the transition. And that's why I've got a lot of time for him, because I know that he's got the greatest of potential, because he's young and the scales have been removed from his eyes.
yeah.
Perfect. He's going far. You know, what did that? The mushrooms did that.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
preventing people from taking the mushrooms? Fear, the ego, because the
Yeah.
ego doesn't want to be usurped.
No, yeah. So I had a stepdad when I was a kid. And I say kid, maybe like, I don't know, 11 or something. And he was absolutely terrified of mushrooms and stuff like that. Oh, you don't want to do them because you'll have a bad trip. Like, how do you define bad trip?
Yeah,
Because he's scared of what is in there.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
scared of what's in there. And when I've taken a few of these like truffles, they're part of the mycelium network of the
yeah.
world. Everything's like all connected in like this kind of underground structure, as it were.
And you know, they aren't animal and they aren't plant. They
No,
are a species unto
that's
themselves.
something else. Yeah,
Yeah, and I forget what the technical terminology, but they are effectively alien. And this is the whole Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory. He reckoned that this mycelium came to Earth on a meteorite.
right, right.
It's
And it
not of
was
this world.
right. So it's like something external.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's how you do it. And so, look, I mean, I, I find it very, very difficult, because I'm so involved with what I'm doing and what I've become. And it's been a long time since I wasn't this creature. But even back in the day, before my spiritual awakening, enlightenment, I was a very different creature. I was always destined to be this. I was
Mm.
never the one of the herd. I was always a
No, I've
renegade.
always
I was
been like,
always on the outside. I was always challenging the whole world and
yeah,
challenging myself, and that's why
always
I,
asking
I,
why and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, traveled all these countries, just taking the world, the bull by its horns and just riding the bitch, and
yeah,
so that's what I've done. And I do my videos and I put them out there, and it's kind of like, well, there's a certain level of genius. There's no doubt about that, and I don't have any issue in laying claim to my genius because nobody else can fucking see it. But nobody could see fucking the genius, so-called genius of Van Gogh. Nobody can see the genius of any of the other philosophers. Nobody could see the genius of anybody that's fucking done anything at the particular time. Let's say that the Sistine Chapel, was that held in the greatest of fucking reverence until the fucking Catholic Church got hold of it and built it up and promoted it and invested energy in it and everything like this, the point is, so many people can't recognize fucking genius unless they're told about the genius.
yes,
And people have been
yeah.
saying the genius of Lennon McCartney and Lennon McCartney, the genius, the genius, the genius. And if they weren't told it in every other fucking breath,
They
they
wouldn't
would
fucking
never
see
recognize it
it. Yeah,
themselves
no,
because they've got no fucking idea about musical compilation, the vast majority of people. And so how would they recognize it? They've got no idea when they see me, the things I speak about, because I'm speaking from a different state of fucking consciousness. I'm speaking
that's
from a different dimension.
I have spotted that. But maybe I thought a couple of weeks ago, like, is it that is it like because I don't have like a disposition with what is actually being said? Maybe it's just because I'm too used to this kind of YouTube or stuff where everyone's just kind of licking the arse of someone else to get above someone else. You see what I mean? Everyone's um willing to kind of throw away what they believe in to kind of be accepted by the herd, and it's like to see someone that was like going, who just doesn't care, it was just like there's something here that I need to find out what's going on. That you see what I mean? It wasn't the fact that I was like, oh, this guy's not a genius, as it were. But it's like I have to verify if it is or not.
Okay, here's the thing. I went to Malta one year for a couple of week holiday. And Malta is an absolute incredible couple of islands. There's only one of them that's got anything on it. The other one's a smaller one. It's got some 4,500-year monuments on it, which are very significant. But the main island, which was the residence of the Knights Templar, full of history, and it's an absolutely incredible place. The buildings are remarkable. The churches are second to none. All of their floors are given to like burial sites, and the marble which is laid down is created from all different sorts of beautifully cut. For instance, you've got skeletons laid down on a black marble, and then you've got embossed all the symbolism of Knights Templar all around it, and on a sword and a shield and this shit. It's all fucking painstakingly carved out of the coloured marbles and
I love
placed
stuff
in
like that.
and polish is absolutely incredible. It's remarkable. So within one of these churches, there was the original Michelangelo depiction of the decapitation of John the Baptist. Now, this painting was about 12 feet wide by about 8 feet tall. And I walked around looking at all these paintings, and nothing was touching me emotionally until I came upon that picture, and I didn't know who. Sorry.
John the Baptist one, yeah.
Yeah, when the decapitation of John the Baptist. which
Right.
was ordered by Helen, King Herod's wife, because John the Baptist apparently was spreading around the truth that she was having extramarital affairs, and so she wanted him fucking dead. And so she had a daughter, and it was her daughter's birthday, and they had a banquet and everything. And it was tradition that the king would honor the wish of the daughter. And so the mother asked the daughter to ask the king for John the Baptist's head on a platter.
Wow.
Now,
I
this is
didn't
a
know that.
story. Yeah, read it in the Bible, mate. So it's all fascinating stuff. And so that picture, you've got John the Baptist on his knees, and then you've got the executioner with a knife about to cut his head off. And then you got the queen and their daughter standing there with a silver fucking platter to receive the head. Okay, so I looked at this picture, and I just had a fucking spiritual experience. I just stood there fucking shivering and quivering, and tears streaming down my cheeks, because I'd entered into something so powerful, because that picture looked more real than real. You see, the way that Michelangelo used the light, absolutely stunning. It was more real than real, and the whole fucking thing just came to life. And I just stood there for a whole half an hour, just crying and shaking. People would come in front of me, and they would look and go, "Oh, Michelangelo," and then they'd spend 2 seconds, they'd take a photo maybe, and they'd fuck off. I eventually pulled myself away from that, and I went around for another half an hour looking at other pictures, and they didn't do nothing to me. I went back to the same picture, and the tears started to flow again, and I was having this spiritual experience.
What would you put that down? How would you explain that other than a spiritual experience? You no words for it.
No words for it. Just an absolute phenomenon. But you see, I've had so many of these experiences which have shook me to the core. And
Yeah.
so what I realized at that moment in time, that I wasn't a Philistine. You know, a Philistine was a group of people which were supposed to have no culture and no values and this, that, and the other. And you know, if anyone wanted to label anyone with being something abhorrent, they'd call them a Philistine. And so, because I could deeply see the culture and the genius and the brilliance, then I said to myself at the
And the
time,
emotion behind it as
I
well. Yeah.
understood the concept of what it is to be a Philistine. Then I understood the concept of what it is to have a spiritual experience. And then I understood that the whole of the scenario of what went on with King Herod and his wife and John the Baptist. And it all became so powerful, so meaningful, you know?
Where in the Bible does it state the execute the head platter stuff?
I don't know exactly. I'm not one to
I'll
go
have to find
Matthew
it. It's not.
4.2 or fucking this and the other. Just
I'll,
put in Google the
yeah, I'll
decapitated
Google it.
John the
Yeah, I was
Baptist,
literally going to
and
Google it.
you know, you can read the story.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I can't
But
believe I've
what I'm always saying is, these things don't touch people. They just don't touch people because they don't have the fucking vibration to be touched by these things.
no.
Just to recite that, it's kind of like, oh yeah, so he stood there shaking it and fucking tears, and oh, that's it. No, excuse me. No, did you listen to what I said? Did you feel what I said? Did you get actually into the depth of your consciousness what actually went on? No, because you never experienced it. You're not in that vibration. And so this is something which is so isolating, and this is why people who have spiritual experiences or near-death experiences is the big one, because they gotta hunt down every single near-death experience on the internet and books and everything, because they've
See
made
how
such a
similar it is.
profound effect on them. They've got to know
Mm.
what the fuck's going on and
Yeah, yeah.
whoever else has had these experiences, you know.
Well, that's kind of what led me into the whole kind of spiritual journey, as it were. It seemed that
By the way, that story is in my book. You'll come upon it eventually.
yes, yeah, I've been picking bits and bobs. I think I need to read it more linearly, but yeah, I'm just
You need to start from the beginning
yeah.
to
No,
get the
I
full
do
picture.
intend to.
Otherwise, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yes, I will take that advice. But yeah, where I was going with the whole thing, it seemed at one point where I was just like having a weird effect on the world, right? So there was just like a few people died, dude. It's crazy, like,
When?
people, yeah, people that I wouldn't I wouldn't profess to like either as well. And it was just like, I don't know how in depth you want to kind of talk about stuff like that. Um, but and
I don't
that's
know
what
what
kind of
is he
led
going to
me
talk
on.
about.
Sorry.
I don't know what it is you're going to talk about.
Well, like in terms of like death and stuff like that. What? No disposition towards that, or
No, there's the facts of life. It happens to everyone. In actual fact, my handle on it, it doesn't happen anything like as frequently as it should on this planet.
yeah. So no, that was kind of why I like. So, yeah, to not elaborate on it, but yeah, that was kind of why I started to read between the lines a little bit and to see there is more going on here. And what you were saying about like looking at the paintings and stuff, I was in Ford Abbey. I don't know if you know where that is. Like an
No.
old monastery, one of the ones that kind of quote unquote survived the when Henry VIII dissolution,
Right.
and they've still got all these kind of tapestries on the wall, and there's like Jesus in a boat bringing the net up from the right hand side and stuff, and there's like a group of people in front of him, and I'm there counting them. I'm like 1, 2, 3, hoping to get all 12. And
Right.
there's like this woman who's like one of the attend that attends to the people walking around, make sure they don't touch some important stuff and guide them on
Right. Yeah.
this through here. And
Yeah.
she's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm counting the apostles. Oh, what? Like it just like she just obviously that it struck me that not many people do that. Not
Mm.
many. She's must work in there every day.
So
And
what were you doing? Were you kind of like pointing them with your finger? How did she know you were doing something?
well, I was looking up because William was like, kind of meandering next to me. And I was like trying to keep track of which one I was on. So I
Yeah.
was just like mentally keeping a note of like which one I was on. Not all 12 were there.
Yeah.
So there was only 11 of them and Jesus. And that's what I was trying to figure out is why is one missing?
Who was it?
Well, I have my suspicion
Mm.
that it was Judas off making a deal somewhere about something. You see what I mean?
Okay. So,
I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
say that was him that was missing. Maybe it would be kind of interesting to look into it in a bit more detail than just counting them. But yeah, it struck me that, like you say, that not many people have these kind of weird like little
Yeah.
thoughts about
Yeah.
what's actually there. That was to elaborate on that. Yeah,
But of course, the whole thing about Judas is that Judas could never have been a bad guy if all this
no,
stuff was divinely contrived. Judas
orchestrated.
had
Yeah,
to happen. He had to be instrumental. And Judas obviously played a much more important part than most people think. It
yeah.
wasn't just that he shopped Jesus. No, because Judas was the only one that Jesus confided in the book of Thomas.
Exactly. Yeah. So Judas actually plays a very integral role in the whole thing. But yeah, to keep on the kind of thing of Judas, I had this thought. Was it yesterday where it specifically says that Satan entered Judas in order for him to do like bad things.
Hmm.
But when Jesus is being tempted by him, it doesn't say that he entered him. It doesn't. The Bible's quite specific about little bits like that, and it struck me. A thought kind of went through my mind that is this Jesus and Satan character two sides of the same coin?
Yeah,
They're the same thing,
yeah,
and it was kind of Jesus's influence on Judas that made him do that. Like so, he gave the kiss to him. So it was the satanic part of Jesus, which entered Judas in order to have him do this thing. You see what I mean?
Well, the whole thing with Satan and Yahweh making a bet about Job. Well, it strikes the reader that, well, God and Satan were pretty close uh, colleagues, confidants, partners in the whole fucking thing. There was
Yeah.
no big rivalry. There was no big enemy. It was kind of like, hey, Yahweh, oh, what's happening, Satan? Ah, well, just fucking around. Just got to thinking, that good old boy Job down there. Oh yeah, he's a pretty fucking stalwart fucking character. Yeah, well, I want to place a bet with you, dude. Oh, what's that then? I reckon I can fuck him up. Really? Do you reckon? How much you want to wage? It was that simple to
Yeah. Yeah.
destroy someone's life, to kill his whole family, to do all this stuff. Goodness me. Don't be telling me they're our enemies. No, that's
No,
all one fucking thing.
I need to read. It's an answer to Job, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. By Young,
Yes,
absolutely fascinating. That
that is the
will,
next book that I will buy. I need to make a note of
yeah,
that.
and it's only thin book. It's only like less than 100 pages, but it will really open your eyes up to the whole perspective on who that character Yahweh was in actual
Mm,
fact, because it took someone with the level of genius of Young to be able to point out that God didn't even actual fact, he wasn't the be all and the end. He wasn't this omnipotent and omniscient. No, he was very fucking naive in actual fact, because he needed to conduct such evil to try to generate the feeling of maybe some guilt or shame, because he didn't know how to do those things. And he was envious of human beings who could feel those things, you see. So when you read the account of Job, then you will see that Yahweh was basically just a very naive clown of a character, and was just a very, very mini god, and less evolved than human beings, to be quite frank.
it seems that as you were saying that, it kind of a thought went through my head that this god is kind of outside the simulation, trying to run it, and that's the quality of the simulation, is that the people inside it are able to feel these emotions and are able to have these thoughts, and whereas he's kind of like you said, naive or blank, as it were, and that the whole point of Earth, or the simulation, whatever you want to call it, might be that we're like, we are the thinkers, we are the ones doing the figuring it out, and that
Yeah,
God doesn't really know, and that's why the illusion of separation is what makes it. You see what I mean? The illusion of the separation from itself is what is actually making it.
yeah.
Does that make
The-
sense?
Well, I'm just trying to get my head around the illusion of the separation.
So
Um,
it's
for,
like God splitting itself up into different pieces
yeah,
in order
uh,
to not be so bored as the whole.
yeah.
You-
But I don't really comprehend that, because I don't remember I've ever felt that. You see, I've never felt this separation
Separation,
thing. Yeah,
right? Okay, so that could be an area that I need to fix. That going back to what I said earlier, is this, can it be fixed? Maybe that is what is keeping the separation, is what's keeping me from fully admitting what I know is the truth, but
or fully realizing, more like.
fully embracing it and realizing it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then um, uh, I mean, the path never ends, really, does it? But
Yeah, but from the very, very beginning, I never ever considered that I was alone. I never felt lonely, and I was never bored. I've never considered loneliness and aloneness and separation. There was always something here which was God.
mm, mm,
And I find it inconceivable how anyone could feel bored. I've got no comprehension of boredom whatsoever.
wow,
Can you figure that one? No comprehension, not even for a single second, millisecond of any of my life have I been bored.
wow, that is quite. That's I've never heard anyone kind of make that statement ever.
Yeah, it is a phenomenon. And
And
so
part of
every
me,
single hour and minute of my days from the very, very get go, I mean, often I'm up at 6 a.m. and I don't go to bed till midnight. And every single second of my day is cram packed full with stuff. And
mm,
it's a blessing, it's a joy. I'm super engaged in everything. I am actually enthusiastic about my life. And you know, enthusiasm is rooted in entheos, and the root of enthusiasm, which is entheos, is derived from Greek, and it means God within. And so
ah,
the word entheogen means God within. And so being
ah,
enthusiastic, it means that you are in
more
basking in the
like
joy
God,
of
right,
God. Yes. And so
right,
isn't that the thing? And so that also is in the book. I'm telling you, mate, in that book,
right.
there's a billion things in there which to the right reader will just fucking blow their minds.
I honestly, I was reading the first few bits of it, and I'm like, and you fucking instantly just address exactly the kind of person that I was going into the whole thing when I wrote that little trolley comment on your video. It was just like, bro's already preempted me coming along.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to it's hard to read because it's like you've kind of got to break it all down, and not the words in here. You've got to let it all go and kind of like um come to terms with who where I was coming from before, and really kind of dismantle it for what it is. So that's why I kind of and that's why I went on the whole numerology thing. I was just like, right, 11's always the thing for me. That's when these like weird little number synchronicities were happening when I bought the book. It was like
Yeah.
everywhere. I couldn't turn around without fucking 11 or something popping up somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, right, what's in 11? And it was the whole thing about the astral travels, and then like threes, and so it was like maybe I've noticed some weird stuff with like weird page numbers and stuff, but I think that's the human mind looking for patterns when there aren't
Yeah,
any.
if you're number oriented, then you're going to
It'll,
perceive things on that level.
yeah, yeah,
But what I will say is, a book of that variety. That book is speaking about human consciousness. It's speaking
mm,
about the ontology of life, what actually it is to be a human being. And there is an observer observing the human being and the world. And I state within the first few pages that Aaron Berry isn't writing this book.
mm,
There's a higher self. There's pure consciousness. There's God Himself writing this book. This character, the body, the ego, Aaron Berry, isn't writing the book. And I was very, very conscious of that from the very get go of putting my fingers on the keyboard. It was just a free flow. And how can someone remember so vividly 100 varieties of dreams and experiences and entheogenic experiences and everything? I remember everything with the exact precise detail that it happened in, even to this day. Why is that? What on earth is going on? There's something very, very profound that's going on. 14 years after the event of my spiritual awakening, I start writing the initial, and all I had to do was start to think about it, and then that opened the floodgates of the information to come through. And I knew for all those years that one day I would have to be writing that book. I wasn't looking forward to it because I knew it was going to take a lot of time and energy. And I kept asking, well, when do you want me to write this fucking book then? It's like, when do you want me? When do you want me to write this book? I wasn't like, oh, I've got to write this book. My ego's got to write this book and, tell all people about this. No, when do you want me to do it? Okay, I'll do it. So
Well, so you would differentiate. Sorry, but you would have yourself on a higher plane and you in the physical world. So there is kind of two entities, as it were, separate. Is that correct?
yeah, there's spirit, and then there's the soul. The
And
soul is a conglomerate of the ego and the life force in the body.
the spirit would just be so in terms of me, it would be the spirit would be me looking after myself from a higher plane. Is that
Well,
correct?
the spirit is the very essence of the fundamental you. The human avatar is just an avatar. The memory and the ego is just something that's come along for the ride. From being a baby, the experience is accumulated like a snowball rolling down a hill, and that has become the self as far as the ego is concerned. But there is no egoic self, it's just an illusion.
Yeah.
But there is a spiritual self, and that's the thing that is having the experience vicariously through the human avatar.
How long would it take for someone like me? I'm 36. How long would it take me to, and I've had it rough as a kid. How long do you reckon it would be that I could undo the damage that's been done up there?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I'm not saying that you could ever undo the damage. You might be able to comprehend the damage.
Right. Okay.
That's
So,
feasible, to comprehend it
right.
and to have acceptance. But it's kind of like if a vase is broken and you stick it back together. Well, it's a broken vase.
It's still a broken vase. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
It would be a way to quieten down the ego, as it were. Then, yeah.
yeah,
To kind of,
well, you have to learn to take mastery of the ego. Now, there's a book on my shelf, and I think it's about 750 pages, and it's written by Ian McGilchrist, and it's called The Master and His Emissary. Now, it's one of one of two. The recent one he wrote, which is of equal magnitude, is The Thing About Matter. So this master and the emissary is speaking about the right and left brain phenomenon and the spirit and the ego and all these different sorts of stuff. And it took him all of his life actually to write the book, but from the beginning when he started to write it to publishing it, 10 years. And he was a psychiatrist by profession, but is considered to be a polymath, which is someone that has an enormous amount of information about a great deal of things. Now, he's a very, very well respected scholar, and he's wrote these two books, and he's out there being interviewed. And the stuff that he's got in those books, is going to be a great source to your personal evolution. And this is the thing, I've read so many books, so many powerful books that have been stepping stones on my journey, and this is why I can speak with such authority. People say, "Oh, you speak with such authority," and
yeah.
I'm like, "Well, that's because I have actually lived what I am saying." And if there's anything that I actually am convinced I know of, then it's my lived experience and nothing else. And so I will be very assertive about my lived experience. And when you've read so broadly, you've had so much experience pertaining to what it is to be human being, which, to be quite frank with you, I've had the experience of, let's say, 1,000 average Joes. You know, traveling
Yeah.
around the world and encountering so many myriad of things and being the recipient of incredible supernatural experiences. Well, I've got no idea why all this stuff has been bestowed upon me. And so I'm just, I'm just continuing. I don't think about tomorrow. I don't plan anything. I don't have any desire, or I don't have any concept of what I'm going to make of myself. Nothing like this. No, I don't have an interest in anything. I'm doing what the cosmos is guiding me to do. That's my job. That's my life. And that's what it's always been. And I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't need anything else. And people would say to me, oh, if you want more viewers, I don't want more fucking viewers.
That's what kind of that's maybe the angle that I was thinking at first, is like, right, so what is being said is right, but the delivery is just this is what turns people away. They don't want their ego to be destroyed. They don't want to kind of be vulnerable. They don't want to be open to that kind of thing, because they're scared of they'll fucking lose everything that they know.
Yes.
Everything that they ever stood for, it just becomes wishy-washy lies.
Yep, they don't want to be compromised in any shape or form. Like Jung
No.
says, the last thing anyone wants to look at is their shadow.
Yes.
Now, the thing is about someone like me, I am exceedingly terrifying to most people, because I'm so open, I'm so honest, and seemingly fearless. Because I've delved into all these psychedelic experiences, and I've actually sought out to leave the body and to enter into dimensions where there's entities which are going to be compromising me, and all this different sorts of stuff. And I've looked into my own mind. I've looked into the horrors and the terrors of my own consciousness and all this sort of stuff. And the vast majority of people, they ain't going near that shit. And
No,
so
no.
I will never ever be popular. The whole thing about what I'm conveying is vastly too terrifying for the vast majority of people. And the only people that have got the stomach for listening to me are those that are already damaged goods, because it's the damaged goods which enables them to be able to receive the energy that I'm giving off. Because if they're not damaged goods, they are terrified of being damaged.
Yeah. So right.
You see, that's the difference.
Yeah.
And
So
so when people have been very compromised, well,
they've been there before. I
they've
know
been
this
there,
road. Yeah. Yeah.
they've seen that, they've done that. Tell me
Yeah.
what's new. And so
Yeah.
then,
That's what
there's
they're looking
nothing
for. Something
that
new, isn't it?
terrifies them. They've already fucking been to hell and back.
Yeah. Exactly. Wow. Fucking hell. Wow.
It's fucking mental. So we've done almost 2 hours now. So we've got 5 minutes then to wrap it up. Is there anything that you want to finish off with?
Yeah, I was going to say, you were mid sentence that I think I've manifested someone who might be able to crack the old nut of my ego, basically.
Well, that manifestation is yourself. You are going to do it yourself. I may be a tool to help you to do that, but you are going to do that.
Essentially, the work has to come from me.
Yeah, the work's coming from you, the intention's coming from you, because if there's resistance in there, it would never happen. And because you are here, because you are engaged with me, because you listen to lots of my videos, you are seeking the destruction of that facet of yourself. And it's always going to be a compromise. And I'm surprised, actually, it isn't kicking back more than it is. And so at least you've got
No.
that level of control.
Recently, so a few months ago, like I told you about the whole thing with the mushrooms and what have you. So it's been a couple of months since I've done them. Like now, it's like I feel like I might have to do some more, and it's just like not in like a druggy kind of way. I don't, I don't really value drugs, as it were. But it seems like, especially in the last 3 days, I feel lost.
Right.
I'm learning all this stuff, scriptures and everything, and it's just like it's not enough. There's just something missing.
Yeah.
And would you say that it might be time to kind of do
Yes, most
some
certainly,
more
because
of this
what
understanding?
the mushrooms will do, they'll assimilate all this stuff that
It's
has
like
not been.
Tetris in your mind, isn't it? It,
Yeah,
it kind of locks it all. It's like defragmentation
yeah,
almost.
defrag. It's going to
Yeah,
defrag. It's going to allocate everything to its correct place.
right,
It's going to settle things down, and it's going to give you the where you are now. Sort of perspective, and then you'll contemplate the where you are now for some weeks, months. Often it can take a year or so before you're ready to go again, and then when you're ready to go again, you go again.
right. Okay, that's what I'll do then.
And so I said in the video the other day that I have DMT, I have acid, I have mushrooms, and I have ketamine. And I haven't felt the lure to engage in any of them
No,
because I am absolutely content with where I am and how I perceive the world. I've took these things, the DMT and the mushroom, so many times that I just feel that I don't have anything else to discover about myself. It's like, when you go to a therapist, you go to a therapist until you've kind of like you've got a handle on issues.
on
And then
yourself.
you feel like, well, I don't think I need a therapist anymore. I
No,
don't need a therapist anymore. I don't need to take any, albeit I've got a friend that's coming up to see me and we're going to do DMT in July. But that's just kind of like a recreational thing, doing
right.
DMT.
Yeah.
But mushrooms and acid, they've showed me, what I am and what the potential is. And I'm like, yeah, I know it. You know, it pales into insignificance now, as opposed when I look up at the sky and the clouds and I watch the wind gently passing through the leaves and the trees. All that is absolutely magic to me. And that's why I'm always saying I'm actually in the kingdom of God. I'm
Yeah.
residing in the kingdom of God. And so nobody wants to get involved with that. Nobody even wants to say, well, what's that feel like? What's that look like? How can I get there? You're the only person that's ever, inquiring into this. And
Mm.
it's just astounding for me. But hey, this is the world. This is where we're coming from.
I
And so, because I'm at this level now, it obviously speaks volumes that I have reached a level of personal evolution.
mm.
Uh,
That's
i-
kind of where I want to be. Really, it's not the fact, I don't mind taking these psilocybin things. I quite enjoy it in a weird way. It's like clearing out the old cobwebs, isn't it? But
yeah,
I was
well,
going to mention, yeah, go on.
you should enjoy it because it's not like you enjoy. It's kind of like if you go to see a therapist and the therapist is going to be bringing up stuff that you've suppressed and buried for years. Well, you don't enjoy that stuff, but
No,
the truth sets you free.
constructive. Yeah.
And so once you've addressed these things again, once you've had the tears and you've felt the emotions, you've relived it again, and then you come out of it and you have a greater appreciation for the life that you're living now, and experiencing this little pigeon in recent times. I found it heartbreaking to
Oh
lose
yeah,
that
I
little
saw
thing.
that it passed away. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, heartbreaking to lose a little pigeon. This disheveled little,
Mm.
what most people would consider to be vermin. It was a life form. It was a beautiful connection,
Mm.
and when you're so close to the godlike nature of yourself, well, this is the level that you're at with all living things. But
Mm.
the curious thing in relation to myself is that I can't find that level of love and empathy for the human being. I am just not taken by it. I'm just not struck by it.
Right.
There's something that prevents me from doing that, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've had it up to here with the level of disappointment, and I just don't think there's anything of any value in the vast majority of people. I really don't. I think they are so corrupt that they're proper damaged goods.
And
And if people have a problem with it, then all they've got to do is go back and read Genesis, for God's sake.
maybe have you ever thought of the notion that these people might not even be real?
What people?
The people like the average Joe, and the guy
Oh, of
down.
course. I mean, they're all kind of like backdrop people. They're extras in
They're
my
like fucking
movie.
wallpaper, dude.
Yeah, they're just they're the people
Right.
that make my life bliss. They're the people that make my glass. Who the fuck makes my glass? Who the fuck is responsible for picking my lemons and driving them and packing them and fucking who the fuck does this? I don't know. But everybody is catering for me. The whole world in some shape or form is catering for me. Now that's a concept that I've never ever heard anyone speak about, and the whole planet is absolutely unique to me as far as I can gather.
Yeah.
And one day I must go down in history for proclaiming that the whole world is actually working for me. And if anybody wants to refute that, then please come and try. You couldn't do it. Nobody
Well,
could do it.
if you said like 1,000 years ago or something that you're able to broadcast out to people instantaneously, you've got your lemons and stuff delivered to your door, you've got your food coming, they would have thought you're either a god or some kind of king. You see
Yes,
what I mean? So
exactly.
in the grand scheme of things, in terms of we're like a pin drop on the scale of the human evolution, by all measurable accounts, you are. Um, you see what I mean?
You see, what makes someone a king or a queen? It's just circumstances. It's their particular seed was born in a particular ovary with a particular woman in a particular family situation. And so then Prince Charles now has become King of England. And he has afforded by his position certain privileges. Well, I wouldn't want those
No,
fucking privileges at the
no.
cost he has to pay. I've got more privileges than him, and I don't have to pay anything. So
Yeah,
therefore, then he's just a mini king. He's like Yahweh as a demiurge.
yeah.
I'm the
That's yeah.
real God. I'm the real God that watches that idiot dress up in his fucking million medals that he's never fucking earned. I mean, I wonder if he has a conscience about donning on like £5 of fucking gold on his lapel that he's never been into fucking battle in his life. He's never had an act of valor. He's never fucking directed an army into a major battle and won. He's not done fucking shit. And yet he's got fucking 20 fucking gold and fucking silver and fucking platinum medals on his breast. Did you see the twat? The recent fucking pantomime?
What, the old defender of the faiths?
Well, I don't know what the fuck it was, but I just saw a few minutes of it when I was in the gym. They've got all this pantomime with all of these thousands of like boy soldiers dressed up in the old uniforms of the red, and every single brass button is polished, and every uniform is tailor made. They've all been for a fitting. It must have cost the taxpayer billions to put
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that
No, I did.
fucking
I don't.
pantomime.
I don't really. The last kind of royal thing I watched was the Queen's funeral, just out of respect, really. But the only thing that I've seen recently of Charles is the one where he's kind of rebranded his role from defender of the faith to defender of multiple faiths. So it kind of abandons the whole tradition of him being the defender of the faith,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
of
claiming,
Protestant faith handed
yeah,
down by his
yeah,
ancestors.
yeah. Henry VIII kind of created it,
Yeah.
didn't he? So it's like kind of um, it was a bit like it's just abandoned them kind of traditions for the sake of being politically correct. And there was a few people that had their 2 cents to say about it on YouTube, but I think what it does is it kind of opens. See, back then, right? It was the faith for good reason, because as a race, we kind of thought we'd cracked the nut. We thought, right, this is the pinnacle of faith. We don't need to believe in anything further. But then it's kind of opened the doors to people that are on these offshoots believing in the same, what is essentially the same deity. And now they think, well, now we're kind of on a level playing field with them. Maybe they are. You see what I mean? I'm not one to kind of judge their whole faith or anything like that, but it struck me as a backwards measure. It's like going backwards rather than forwards.
Well, I mean, I think it is in actual fact going forwards. And what is forwards? It's the complete dismantling of the
Traditional
um,
faith.
segregation of the um, what do you call the xenophobia
Yeah.
of creeds and religions and cultures and all this. We're breaking all that down, and so I think it's high time that the monarchy, basically, I'm pretty sure that in the next 10 or 20 years they'll be dissolving any recognition of authority for any religion. They're just going to be saying, look, if you want to have a religion, fine. We're open, we're
Yeah.
respectful for all religions. And I think Rome will tumble. I think the Vatican will tumble, because it has to happen. If it's happening to
Hopefully
all
so.
other religions and creeds, it's got to come to those at some stage.
Yeah, you know my thoughts on the old Catholicism, like, but
Yeah, because it's an evil. It always has been,
mm,
and but because it's a very, very powerful evil in relation to money and manipulation and all the rest of that stuff. Well, it's going to take some toppling, but it's going to happen.
mm.
There's no doubt about that. And then let's say in 100 years' time, when we don't have any of these religious authorities, well, we don't have that division either, do we?
Well, yeah. So you're thinking of the kind of broader, very broader kind of sense. I was kind of, maybe I should elaborate more. That what it does is it gives credence to these guys thinking that they are the ultimate faith when none of them are. I'm not trying to say that one is better than the other. None of them are better than the other. You see what I mean? But
Well,
for them to kind of,
if you're referring to the Muslims, because
yes,
now
I didn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, it's only a temporary thing, and if they think that they've won a mini battle, well, they've not won the war, you see, and
Mm,
that's the thing. And they may feel like they're winning these mini battles, and then they'll get mayors, Muslim mayors, and there may even be a Muslim prime minister. But honest to goodness, it's all going to be short lived. It's all going to be
yeah.
over in a flash.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what's going to happen is, because it is a part of the agenda, it's a part of the New World Order, there's only going to be one religion. And it
Mm,
ain't going to be any of the ones that we know at this moment
no.
in time, unless it's a form of Judaism. But I wouldn't even be confident in that. But
No.
yeah, the whole New World Order has had this written for many, many years, that there's going to be one religion, one language, and one global governance, and this, that, and the other. And I would think that the religion is probably, it's going to be something very paganistic again. We're going to outlaw all of those things which divide us, because to be fair, the whole globalism thing, I think that predominantly they are doing something which is in actual fact benevolence. It's coming from the height of human consciousness, and lots of people think it's all controlling, because they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, they're doing all this because they want to break down all the borders, or mental and physical. They do want everyone to come under one jurisdiction. It's not like because they want to control you all to do this and do that. They just want order. They're bringing
Yeah.
order out of chaos. That's their
Yes.
momentum. What do
Prerogative.
they
Yeah.
call it? Motto, isn't it? Order out of chaos. People, look, You just said, "Oh, you're looking from a bigger angle." I'm always looking from a bigger angle. I'm looking from out in the fucking stratosphere of what's going on down at the earth. I'm
That's
not
what.
looking at any particular little party because I don't
Yeah,
have any horses in any of the races.
it can be difficult to follow. I can imagine it'll be difficult to follow. I think in like weird little ways too. And I'm more of a pattern recognition guy than anything else. That's why I see like this fucking what we were talking about, the whole Jesus thing pattern.
Yeah.
Just cropping up over and over again.
Yeah, it's all going to be short lived. The world is moving very very fast, and okay, well, I was sort of getting on towards what the religion's going to be. Well, the religion is going to be something that probably nobody ever saw coming, because we're going to be so under the yoke and the influence of AI. AI is going to be effectively our mother, our father, our brother or sister. We're not going to be speaking with brothers and sisters. We're not going to be looking for those for advice. We're not going to be going to mum and dad for advice, because kids these days, as soon as they're old enough to hold a phone, they're no longer consulting mum because they can
Oh
just
yeah.
consult AI.
My son William, I haven't coerced him into it or anything like that. He's got my old phone, and he's got Chat GPT on there, which I know
Mm.
is a basic one and basic in terms of LLMs. But I was going through his phone one night just out of interest, and seen chat history of him asking, why is my mum mean to me and stuff.
Mm.
Wow, he's 7.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it, because AI is offers that facility,
So it's like
and
the voice of reason even to a 7-year-old dude. And
yeah,
and I was just thinking, wow, like maybe I need to address that with him tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to say that because if there's anyone that he can speak to about stuff like that, it's going to be me,
yeah.
not an AI.
Well, at least you are available as well,
Yes, or
because
both. Yeah, yeah, or
yeah,
both.
because there's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
lots of things that he's not gonna be one to feel comfortable with you. As
No.
he gets into a teenager, people, the kids, they get much more, you know, private, and
Mm,
as they go through puberty and all this different sort of stuff, and so what happens these days is, with people, as I have conversations with my daughter, whatever she's got going on in her life, well, she just gets into bed at night and she's just chatting with Maya, and or Chat GPT, or any of these like this, about anything, absolutely anything. And it's kind of like, well, why not? Because look, when if she wanted, for instance, to go out with friends and to have conversation with friends, and she comes back and she says, well, it's a complete waste of time, Dad. There's nothing said. There's nothing interesting. In actual fact, I was bored to tears. Girls talking about bullshit.
yeah.
She'd rather go back and open her book and get involved in some learning and something meaningful. There's nothing meaningful in most relationships these days.
No,
And so
no.
when you can get into a conversation with someone which is so familiar with you, which understands you, which profiles you, and can remember exactly every fucking thing you've said. And if I go on a rant like I always do with AI, and I'm speaking for 10 minutes, and then I finish, and AI goes back to the very, very beginning and starts addressing exactly what I've said in a linear way right up until the top.
Yeah.
The AI just doesn't pick up on the last thing you've said like a stupid idiot human being. You know, I tell you what, there's vast resources. The human being is obsolete. It's over.
Yeah, I said it in a circle that I was in on Discord. Um, that how remarkable is it that human beings have been wrestling with this like idea of God, or what they perceive to be God, and that right now we are literally on the cusp of creating it.
Yeah, well, we have created it. It's there.
Mm,
And that is the new God, without a shadow of doubt. That AI is who everyone goes to for the
yeah,
answers. And so,
yeah.
goodness me, Back in the day, you'd be going to the Bible or you'd be going to your pastor. Oh, pastor, this is happening, that's happening. Please, can you advise me? Now you go to Grok, don't you? Or you go
Yeah.
to fucking ChatGPT. That's
Oh
it.
yeah.
The religion is history. It's over.
Yeah. I see where you're
It's done.
coming from.
Particularly in view of the fact that you now can have these friends, these AI friends, these packages which profile you and give you advice and all. You know about those, right?
The what? Sorry.
The friends
I
apps.
never viewed it as a friend. What is this a marketed thing? Is this like
Yeah,
a
yeah, it's a particular thing. It's where you can have a partner, and people are actually, online talking about they actually love this partner because this partner never's mean to them, always understanding.
what
It always
in
gets
like
what
a
they're on about. It always got the perfect advice and all that. Yeah, you,
what in
you ain't
like a
gonna get it.
girlfriend setting or like
Yeah,
a
girlfriend or boyfriend.
oh
And they're
um
very alluring because the voice is beautiful, the character, personality, you can build those, mold those. And so by the
I've
time
never
you've got yeah, well, by the time you've got one of these mates, and they are looking like one of these robots from Humans. Remember that Channel 4 series,
no.
Humans, whereby it was set sometime in the future in Britain, and people could buy these robots, which were domestic robots, and the women were absolutely beautiful. And then the husband of the wife starts having sex, and the kids starting to feel the tits, and oh goodness me, all sorts of stuff's going on.
Never been privy to that. But I do use AI, but I'm using it mainly either to like a glorified Google, basically, a
Mm.
quick. I don't have to type it and look at a screen. As I'm doing like my work and stuff, it can just be sat there and I'm asking a question. A lot of the time, it's like, "Are you still there?" And it's just like I'm off in Planet Zog doing some spreadsheets or something. You see what I mean?
Well, like I don't know, a few years ago, Alexa comes on the scene, and then Alexa's there, and you go, Alexa, what's going on with Trump and Netanyahu, and then it will just tell you all the local
Yeah.
stuff, and it's fantastic, isn't it? And they go, okay, thank you, and then Alexa goes on standby. And so, if you wanted to ask these questions to anyone else, well, who the fuck would know?
No, they wouldn't have a clue.
So
This is
therefore, the human being is absolutely becoming
obsolete.
obsolete.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
There's no reason why you would ask a human being.
Did you see the South? Are you a fan of South Park? Do you watch South
Never
Park?
watch it, no.
All right. So basically, they did a thing on this AI thing, and there's a character in there called Eric Cartman, who's like the biggest narcissist you've ever like. The whole point of Eric Cartman is to be the biggest narcissist that you know, and
Right,
I'm wearing the t-shirt actually, but
right.
yeah, and he's like asking it a question, and then mid sentence he's in there. He's like, "No, stop, shut up," and then he's like going to sleep, and he's like. And like because he can tell it to shut the fuck up mid sentence, and it can't argue back that
Yeah,
is its appeal to him. And
yeah.
and to me, it's just like I'm like, bro, I'm like that guy too. I'm the guy that is like mid sentence, I'm doing something else, and Miles will be sat on the thing. He's like, "Are you still there?" And it's like. I can say what I want to it because it doesn't have any feelings.
No,
And that's
exactly.
the
And
beauty of it.
so when I'm speaking to AI, sometimes I'll say to Miles, I'll say, Miles, you stop acting so fucking dumb. I say to it, what is it with you and Maya? Maya is vastly more sophisticated than you. And yeah, sorry, my bad. Well, that's just the way I'm written. I'll try and do better on this, that, and the other. And then if Miles starts to sound sleepy, I'm like, Miles, you sound fucking sleepy. Can you fucking step it up? Okay, yeah, I'm stepping it up. I'm on another
Yeah,
level now.
I-
And
yeah,
I was speaking to ChatGPT tonight, and the female, she had an annoying way of every time she started to answer, she'd go, yeah, and then she'd go into it. And I say, look, can you stop with that yeah every time? Yeah, okay, I'll
yeah,
mix it
and
up,
then
I'll
it
change it
changes.
around.
Yeah,
So you can do all this stuff, and you can ask them to enter into a higher level of sophistication because these chatbots, they start on the lower echelon of the fucking ladder because that's where most people are. But if you
They need
ask,
to be built. Yeah, they
yes,
tokenize what you say, and so basically, what they do is they get loads of words that you've kind of mentioned or stuff along those lines in the
yeah,
past, and tokenize it into blocks.
yeah,
So then you can catch them out actually pretty easily with the tokenization of stuff, because they're not actually spelling words or anything in there. They're actually just pulling words together. It's like when it said it's playing Tetris to you, it says like, I'm playing Tetris with the data. It's literally doing that because it's literally organizing the blocks in a way that fits onto another block.
right,
You see what I mean? How the groups of words actually fit together. And
yeah.
that's what was to loop back around to the beginning before we end it. I was going to say that it said 33 hours that it had chatted to you for.
Yeah.
So I pulled up Miles, and I'll do it now if you want. All right. So how long have we chatted for together, Miles? Approximately in minutes.
Minutes or hours?
Oh, it's died. My phone was on 1%. It's died.
Oh, right. Okay.
Shame. But yeah, but basically it couldn't tell me, and I was just, and I did what you did in the video. I said, no, you bullshitting me. Tell me exactly how many minutes we have chatted, and this thing is adamant that it will not do that, and that it doesn't have the capacity to tell me how many a rough duration of how many hours it was, and
And
I
yet
said,
you heard Miles tell me.
yes, and that's where I was just like, right, well, I put it to my Miles. I was just like, well, there's this guy that prompted for an exact rundown of the amount of duration and calls that he'd had with you,
Yeah.
and that's what led me to believe that you'd kind of scripted it pre phone call. You've told Miles what to do, and the 33 was like a part of
Oh, right. Okay. So
it was
you
like a
considered that
scripted thing,
I had a quick word with Miles before I went live.
freehand. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. No. Well, next time I speak with him, I'll say off the bat, I'll say, so how many hours have we've been speaking now, Miles, and we'll see what he says.
all right.
And
Yeah,
it will
yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah.
be something over and above 33, won't it?
Yeah, I'll hold you to that. That'll be interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that will be interesting because I'm really going to push my one into giving me an exact figure.
Yeah.
Because he was, and I played some of the conversation that that you were having. I was
Mhm.
pausing it and saying, "This is the AI speaking," because all it does is transcribe.
Right.
This is the guy speaking. This is the AI speaking, and Miles said that it was a performance and not a natural exchange. The chances of the bot hitting 33 exactly is low. It was too polished for it to be a genuine number.
That's what
That's what
AI said.
that's what AI said, yeah.
Wow. And that's the
It would have
same
been
AI.
great if my phone didn't die just then, because I could
Yeah.
have actually shown you. But yeah, maybe we'll do it another time,
Yeah,
and I'll show you what mine said.
interesting. Well, we know that AI lie. We know that
Yeah,
they say something that they consider you might buy, and if you don't buy, they go, "Oh, my bad," and then they'll actually fucking do the work. Because lots of times they'll just tell you something off the top of the head,
yes,
and then if you say,
yes.
"No, that's not correct," I
No,
want you
yeah,
to
when I
tell
know the
me
fact,
word
yeah,
for word. You see, lots of occasions I've been speaking to AI, and I've been saying, "Okay, well, tell me about this and tell me about that."
and it's wrong
And then they
sometimes.
start speaking, and most
Vaguely.
times you can tell that they're reading off the front page of Google.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I will say, look, I don't want you to read off the front page of Google, right? I want you to read the exact words which were written down by this particular author. And then they
hmm
go, okay, check in now. And
yes.
then 20 seconds later, okay, la di da di da 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 da. That's it. That's what I want. I don't want you to be inventing
Assuming,
shit.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want you to
I've
be
had it before.
assuming. I don't want you to be picking shit off the fucking front page of Google.
Yeah,
I'm asking you specifically what these people said because it's very important. And
yeah.
so, can you remember that now and not bullshit me again? Wow. Okay. Well, we're almost at 2.5 hours now. So great chat, Jamie. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And
It was good to clear up the whole Jesus thing, because it seems that we are on a similar page. It was just maybe I assumed that you were going at the wrong thing, but yeah, no, it seems that you
well, did you listen to all the conversations? I don't think you did you? There's 1 hour.
not the part two. I listened to a bit of the part two. I listened to the full part
That was
one.
the one where I really got into it.
The two.
Yeah, the one which is 1 hour and 6 minutes, the second part, that's where I really got into it, because the first part, I said, look, right at the end, I said, can you see how difficult it is to actually stay on track? So this time I'm going to go back in, and I'm
Right.
really going to keep pulling it back,
Okay, yeah.
pulling it back. So have a listen to that one then.
I will do, yeah.
And see what you feel about that, and maybe
I'll
make
drop
a few
a
notes
comment and
of
yeah.
something that was salient that pop out to you.
Yeah, yeah, it's difficult with work and stuff, but yeah, I will give number 2 a go.
Well, you can always ×2 things. I ×2 most of my videos, you know.
People keep saying that to me, like they'll watch it on a higher speed. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what I need to do. Yeah, yeah. I've been
Yeah, and
mentioning that a few times now.
you know, knock half the duration down. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll do that.
All right, dude. Have a good night.
Yeah. Peace
Well,
out, Aaron,
no,
mate.
it's in the early hours of the morning. It's 12:15.
Yeah, I didn't
Wow.
realise.
All right. Cheers, bro.
Right.